So that's a very diverse thing, and I don't know whether it's useful to try and make too tight a definition. For me, it's this sort of the future we have where there are devices where connectivity and processing come together, and then they're able to connect to the cloud, either to report some data, or for the cloud to allow them to be reconfigured to change their function. Yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of levels to that answer. The first point I think is, there's just a social headwind, there's a social tailwind which is pushing us in the direction of more disclosure. I mean, you just have to look at, my parents' use, my use, and my daughter's use of Facebook, and it's clear that the level of disclosure is going up with the younger generation. So I think that puts a different perspective on security as we go forwards. I think the other thing is then you've got to think about the application and set the right level of security for that application. If you make the security so tight that the consumer can't use it, you have a fail, and if the security is not tight enough and it's easily broken, you have a fail. So you have to find that sweet spot in between. And there's a bunch of tools we can pull on. So there are data mining and ways to identify sort of bad actors that help detect security. For Internet of Things specifically, I think there's the opportunity to use fingerprint detection. That's the technology that's moving forward at a very rapid pace. So I think now if you put your finger on your iPhone, even if you're a bit sweaty, it doesn't work properly. But future fingerprint technology, probably using ultrasound, will allow fingerprints to be detected even when it's wet and without having to apply any pressure to flick the switch. So I think that the opportunity to deploy those technologies for security is going to help address this challenge. I probably should add one more thing. And then I think when you think about security, it really should be from an end-to-end point of view. Yeah, security is only as strong as the weakest link. Sometimes that's the consumer, but it's incumbent on the service provider to make sure that they make the other links of the chain as strong as necessary. Sure. So I think we know there's a roadmap for the development of Bluetooth to Bluetooth Smart. There's evolution of Wi-Fi technologies. But also I think the way cellular technology is going to evolve is critical for the Internet of Things. I think there's some early movers who have sort of got fairly proprietary standards for implementing connectivity of Internet of Things. And that's great because that's going to allow some early adoption. It's going to allow people to test business models and to sort of get some early returns from the Internet of Things. But I think in the medium term, we can really expect the sort of standardized radio protocols to prevail. They're going to be global, so they're going to have scale, which is going to drive down cost, which is going to sort of drive security and adoption with the network operators. And then most importantly probably is if you look at the lifetime of an Internet of Things application, it's not the 1 or 2 years of a consumer product, it's 5, 10, maybe 20 years. So it's essential that the connectivity technology you deploy in your Internet of Things solutions is future-proof, and you probably need some global standard like the next steps in LTE, where it's targeted to Internet of Things in order to be able to provide that future-proofness. Okay, so I'm a great believer that the consumer industry is the one where we're going to see the biggest impact. I was in China 2 weeks ago in Shenzhen. The things people are making, I mean, some of them aren't going to work, some of them are going to work, but just the energy and the innovation going into solutions for consumer Internet of Things, it's so exciting. A few years ago we saw, as an example of something you could imagine, a few years ago you had the sports camera and you could start to record your skiing, and now we start to see drones becoming available, so the drones can fly around. Put those two things together, the drone becomes the next selfie stick. So you're going to have your drone, you're going to be at the top of the ski slope, you throw it in the sky, you ski down the ski slope, the drone's coming down behind you, it's using image recognition to determine who you are, follows you down. Maybe it doesn't just record the camera, by the way, looking forward. Maybe there's like a 360-degree camera. It all gets stored in 360 video. You get to the bottom of the slope, you hold out your hand, the drone recognizes the gesture, it lands on your hand, the next thing you know is the video is streamed to your smartphone, then streamed up into the cloud. Maybe it's stored on YouTube 360, yeah? So then somebody else, one of your buddies, you can call him up, and he can virtually stand at the top of the ski slope with his virtual reality headset on, and he can ski down the slope. And because it's recorded in 360, he doesn't have to look where you're looking. He can look left and right and take his own view from that journey down the piste. So as one example of the many things that can happen in the consumer space, I'm really excited for the Internet of Things. Yeah. Thanks.